We have a couple of coaches that have conflicts in their schedule. Some of them are doing field trips and conferences, and we have a staff member out today. So I wanted to make sure that we recorded this webinar so that you all can refer back to it later if needed, and we can also share that out with those that aren't able to join today. So, all right. So let me get started. All right. So the first thing I am going to ask everyone, I know some of you have already done this. It's kind of customary that we do when we log into, let me get these coaches admitted here. There we go. Is to change your name or rename your tag on your video. And you can do that by just, there's a couple ways you can do it, but the easiest way probably is to right click your name tag and select rename. And of course, leave your name there. But then if you could add, like your position and definitely your school. If you are a coach, we're going to have a guest speaker on in just a little bit. And I want her to be able to kind of see, the range of our program. And there's a lot of new coaches on the call too, so that they can get to know, where everybody's located across the state. So if you want to take a look at like Ryan Murphy's or Jillian Turner, they have a really good model. Carmen, you can also add the year of service that you're in if you would like. That is always helpful too for the other coaches to kind of see there's a few more coming on so that they can sort of see the seniority and things like that. So, all right. So on this call today, we are going to cover a lot. So I apologize if I go really, really fast. That's why I created a slideshow. I'm going to send that out to everybody a little bit later today so that you can get that information sort of again in a form that you can kind of just, sit there and read over. There will be clickable links and things like that to the different resources that are listed. So hopefully that's helpful to you. And we'll try to do that moving forward with our webinars. So this is the agenda for today, and we're going to start, of course, with our connection. One of our values here at the Compact is connection before content. So we'll be doing that in just a moment. We'll also just sort of re-announce that today is the day that mid-year reviews are going out. So we'll just kind of touch base on that and just give you a reminder of what that's all about and how that information will be used. Around 10:30, our guest speaker from the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, or OVR, will be joining us. Her name is Veronica Dale, and she is out of Frankfurt at sort of the state level office, and she's going to give an overview of the OVR sort of program and what sort of special services are available to students that you might work with, come across in your schools that have IEPs, 504s, or any type of documented disability. So that should be very informative. We may go a little out of order depending on how quickly we get through some of these topics, but we also have planned to discuss the AmeriCorps Week that's coming up in March. So we'll go over that. Also, an announcement of some upcoming Kentucky Advising Academy events that you can consider. Some of those you can do from the comfort of your offices or your workspace at your schools. And some of them do require some travel if you're interested. We're also going to ask you to complete a car magnet survey. That sounds kind of interesting. There we go. Also, we're going to talk about Serve Kentucky is hosting some roundtables across the state, and they're looking for members to attend those to get some, some insight, some feedback on AmeriCorps programming. So I'll share that out in just a little bit. It's also FAFSA February. So today is February 1st. So this starts that campaign. And so we'll talk a little bit about how you can participate in that. And really get that information shared out to other professionals in your circles, families, students, and things like that. And of course, the and more just sort of captures a lot of other things that we're going to discuss. Hopefully, we'll have time to get through all that. If you do have questions as I'm going through here, thanks, Tony. Yes, if you can turn your cameras on, that would be great. But as we're going through today, if you have a question, and please throw it in the chat. You can also email me or your program manager after this session, if you wanted to get some things answered, if we aren't able to get those answered for you today during the webinar. So our connection is going to be a Jamboard. A Jamboard is a Google application. Some of you I know have used Jamboards before. Some of you may have never heard of it before. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to, let me go ahead and click this, and then I'm going to share out the link. So I'm going to put the Jamboard link in the chat. You just type that in there. And what we're going to do is I would like for us to kind of reflect on the experience that you had in Berea, if you were able to attend, and I know a good number of you were, and I'm so happy about that. What I'd like for you to share out is what is one thing that you learned in Berea that you've already started to implement in your school. Now, if you haven't had a chance, because I know it's only been a couple of weeks, maybe some things that you're planning on that you are just about, ready to launch in your school. So it could be anything about sort of self-care. It can be an idea that another coach shared with you. And if you're not familiar with Jamboard, it's just sort of a series. It almost looks like a PowerPoint slides, but you're going to come over here to this toolbar here, and about the fourth one down, it says sticky note. So you're going to select that, and you can choose your color, it doesn't matter. And if you could start with your name, you can use first and last name, but you're going to type in what you want to share out, what you learned at the Berea training session that you've started to implement. Or that you are planning on implementing in the near future. So my example is just going to be, and then you, like I said, you can change the color if you want, and then you're going to click save, and it's going to place a sticky note on there for you. You can resize it. Let's not try to get, we have a lot of coaches to share out, but if you feel like it needs to be a little bit larger, that's fine. If you mess up, you can come up here to those ellipses or those three dots, you can delete, and you can start over with a sticky note. So at this time, I would like for everybody, I'm going to remove this one just because it's, going to take up space. But if you start to see that the first one is filled up, you can go on to the next one, and I can add more as needed. So go ahead and click the link. Good. Thanks, Mindy. Mindy got us started here. So just take a moment to think about what is something that you learned or saw or observed in Berea that you've already begun to implement at your school, or that you're in the process of implementing. And we're looking forward to see what how everybody responds to that. And if you have questions or problems with using Jamboard, oh yes, I can send the link again. Sorry about that. There we go. Let me add Jericho. So we're adding, what is one thing that you learned in Berea that you've already begun or that you plan to implement at your school? And Mindy has started us off by adding, I'm looking forward to continuing the measuring success conversation that was started. So thank you, Mindy.
Karen, I'm also not seeing the link.
Karen, I think you've sent it to the waiting room participants and not.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I can't see it. I can't see it either.
Oh my goodness.
It'll be out.
That happened. There we go. Oh no,
Is
it's
it?
oh my goodness, it's not changing. Everyone in the meeting. Okay, let me try it now. Well, that was an epic fail. All right.
Okay, there it is.
All right, yay. Thanks for your patience, everybody. And like I said, if the first slide starts to fill up, you can go up here and just click to the next frame and add your responses. But let's try to fill up the first page first. What is one thing you learned in Berea that you've already begun to implement at your school?
Two-step.
So sticky.
Yeah, so Karen, some of us don't have access. So we sent a request to get access.
Well,
I think you could just change the sharing settings to everyone instead of responding individually.
Oh, my gosh. New technology.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry, everybody. I did test this out, but I guess anybody in the group has.
No, you should
editing
change
right.
it. No, change it to everyone. Click on Kentucky Campus Compact.
Yep.
Okay, click it. And then anyone with the link.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
There you go.
I'm
Everybody
just
should
eating
have
up
access.
time. All right.
It just gave everybody time to think about their answer.
Thanks, Mindy. And like I said, if you mess up, you can just click those ellipses and delete it and start over. But sticky notes are here. And the sort of the if you want to call it a downside to Jamboard is that once somebody has editing rights, things that even I've created, pictures and titles or prompts can be edited. So if you if you accidentally click on this and you alter it in some way, I'll try to fix it. But that is sort of the downside of Jamboard if you're ever using this with any of your students. But you could also lock it for a period of time too. So, all right. So I've started to send out newsletters to parents to keep them involved. Thank you, Jillian. Excellent. And I know parents and guardians, they really appreciate that information. Emily Simpson, I have already started planning decision day with my seniors. Excellent. I've heard even, obviously I wasn't able to attend Berea, but I've heard really great things about the session. I believe that was with Mackenzie from Kia on decision day. So that is great. Oh, look, these are all coming in great. Joanna, I learned to connect with parents, with the parents at the event. So I called all senior parents that I've been working with and introduced myself and invited them to our financial aid event. Excellent. Great job, Joanna. Carmen, I was excited to see a fundraiser alternative and plan on speaking to admin about using that company. Great. I learned how important in-person connections are. Tony, yep, absolutely. That makes all the difference. And Cassidy, I have sent out mailers using our mailer bags. I also started planning decision day. Excellent.
Tell me when yours comes on. I'll stop listening to these ladies.
All right, so we are adding and we're just going over here to the sticky note.
Yeah, Karen, this is Cheryl, and it took a while for the thing to load up for me, but I'm not sure again where to get the sticky note and all of
No
those.
problem. Cheryl, thank you for speaking up because if you're having the question, somebody else is likely,
Sticky note.
especially our.
Okay.
So you're going to
there we
go over here to the toolbar and you're going to click on sticky note and you can change your
Okay.
color.
Thank you.
You of course, and it's
I'm gonna
helpful.
try it again.
No, that's, hey, new technology, we're learning and sharing. So that is okay. And I appreciate you speaking up.
Yeah, this is just not getting it for some reason. Working on it though,
It's
trying.
okay. It's all right. We're learning and sharing. So we're just going to click sticky note. You can change your color and then just type in your response. You can, add your name this way. And then I plan on, you can just do something like that and then just
Yeah, I
move it
don't know.
around. And if we start to fill up too much here, you can just go up here and select the next page and add your sticky notes. So, and then I'm going to delete this. Make
Okay.
room for others. And Bob is having a decision day at Grant County Gallatin County. Is that right, Bob? On May 4th. So excellent update. Ivy, send permission slips straight to parents and go big for college decision day. Yes, there's a really strong theme here about that decision day. I've heard so many powerful things about that session. Ryan, I've begun working with my students on career exploration, using career assessments and sites such as Occupational Outlook Handbook and planning decision day. Excellent. Clara having a small self-care chat with our students. Nice. That do our news videos that the school district can watch. I will get a 1-minute chat to explain what I do at the school. That's great. Yes, self-care is so important. So go ahead and keep adding. We do have to, I have to kind of move on just to start covering some other things. But the idea is that after today's meeting, that I will, I will send this slideshow out in a PDF, and then you can click that link for our Berea reflection and have access to this Jamboard that you can, look at others, what they're doing for inspiration. And if you weren't able to attend Berea, then you're going to get an idea of, unfortunately what you missed, but you might say, oh, hey, Bob mentioned something about Decision Day. I'm going to reach out to Bob because I know he's in my ambassador team and find out more about what that Decision Day is about. So that's kind of the idea of this Jamboard, is to see who is doing what and how we might be able to partner with another coach on getting some information about that. So another really cool thing about Jamboard, if you use it, is that you have sort of the laser effect that you can use on presentations and things like that. So anyway, Jamboard's fun. It's a great tool to use in online meetings, especially, or in Google Classrooms and things like that. So Ashley, Decision Day plans are being made, as well as preparing for FAFSA verification. Yes, absolutely. So to all of you who were able to finally be able to use Jamboard, and I do apologize for that delay. I appreciate you sharing and inspiring. So, all right. So I'm going to go back to the slideshow. Keep adding if you, if you haven't been able to add yet. So we have about 11 minutes before our guest speaker is joining us. And so I did want to top off our news and announcements with a reminder about mid-year reviews. So mid-year reviews are discussed in pretty much detail on your MSA, your member service agreement. It gives you the full list of what all is being sort of evaluated or reviewed, and those include things like attendance, professionalism, attitude, compliance, and there are several more. So please refer to your MSA that I believe is located in America Learns, and kind of skim through that to see what all is included in the mid-year reviews. Both you, the coach, and your site supervisor will be providing input and evaluation on each of those points. So we're excited to read that. We know you're doing great things. If you feel personally that you're struggling with something, be honest about that. That can be something that your program manager and you can sort of target for growth, give you some feedback and some ideas on how, to grow in those areas. So, really take these serious, spend some time looking at it and sort of pondering, how you honestly feel about each of these performance areas. And we will use these later in an upcoming conference with you, whether it's in person or it's a Zoom call or a phone call if we need to do that, and to kind of talk about what those evaluations captured. These evaluations, the links to the evaluation forms or review forms will be sent out today. I believe they're scheduled for noon today to go out. So please check your inbox. If you don't see it sometime, like say around 1 or so, do check your spam, just in case it was accidentally or, redirected there. So there is a deadline for submitting your reviews. And you will get a reminder if you did not submit it by the deadline, which has been set at February the 10th. So any quick questions about the mid-year reviews? Those of you that, that have been with us for a while, you'll know what this is all about. But if you are new to your role, then, you may be a little unsure. Let's see if there's, okay. So I'm trying to check the chat, but if ambassadors or Mindy or Tony, if you happen to see a question in the chat about the mid-year reviews, please let me know. So this is a very important part of our program, because just as much as you are focused on students and helping them navigate, whether it's college and career readiness or student success, retention areas, we care just as much about you and your professional development and growth. And so this is a big deal. And your site supervisors will probably be coming to you maybe to discuss some of those inputs as well. Okay. So I'm going to skip this for now just because we're running a little ahead of schedule, and to mention again the AmeriCorps Week. So I believe that this was discussed a little bit in Berea. AmeriCorps Week is nationwide. It is scheduled to run from March the 12th through March the 18th. And we are right now recruiting for an AmeriCorps Week planning committee. We already have a few of you signed up, and we really appreciate that. If you are interested in joining the planning committee, please send an email to Cassidy Smith. She has graciously agreed to sort of lead this event, and I'm working with her and really excited about that. So if you're interested, please let Cassidy know. We do have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. If you were interested and able to join, if you are interested but not able to join tomorrow, that doesn't mean that you can't be part of it. We are always looking for assistance with that. So basically, for those of you that aren't on the planning committee, be on the lookout for information that is coming from me or Cassidy in the upcoming weeks about what's being planned. It's not one of those things that you're just going to wake up on March 12th and say, oh, I'm doing this. So it is going to involve a little bit of planning, but we hope as our planning committee that we're able to make your involvement easy to follow and easy to understand and really impactful across the state. If you want to know more about AmeriCorps Week before you make a decision of the planning committee or just knowing kind of what this is and what your part can be, you can click this link and it will take you right to sort of the National AmeriCorps page with the AmeriCorps link. So any questions about AmeriCorps Week? Okay, I'm not seeing anything pop up, but again, if you want to join us on the planning committee, reach out to Cassidy or me, and we'll be happy to add you to that calendar invite. I think we have time maybe for one more. Okay, maybe a few more. So the Kentucky Advising Academy has some upcoming professional development opportunities. If you haven't already signed up for sort of newsletters and information around the Kentucky Advising Academy, I encourage you to do so, even if you're just sort of reading their little bulletins that they send out. The Kentucky Advising Academy is really all about the work that you all are doing, or the service that you're doing in your schools around college and career readiness or just student success. So whether you're high school, whether you're college, there is something to learn and gain from getting this information from Kentucky Advising Academy, who is a part of the Kentucky Council on Post-Secondary Education. So I provided a link for you to get on their distribution list, and they will notify you of different regional professional learning events. These are free to attend, lunch is provided, and we can talk more about that later, but these are very informative. They do offer free monthly webinars that are incredibly valuable to coaches and school counselors and things like that. Also, they offer podcasts. So if you prefer to just listen in, you can do that as well, signing up here. As far as the professional learning events, so in the fall, they held sort of their fall series. In the spring, those are going to start February 23rd, and they do visit various regions across the state. So if you're interested in attending one of these spring professional learning events by the Kentucky Advising Academy, like I said, they're free. They do provide lunch, so travel would need to be involved. So please notify your program manager if you're interested in attending an event nearest you. So we're asking that if you select one, that you select the one that is closest to you, and then and then your program manager can notify me, unless I am your program manager, and then I will sort of take a back look to see who wants to go where and let you know if that's been approved or not. So we're hoping that we get some representation out there. I know a lot of you in the fall, or several of you in the fall, did attend, and I thought those were great. Some upcoming free webinars that I can also tell you about through the Kentucky Advising Academy are around dual credit. So if you are already serving students who are in the dual credit programs, or your school is interested in expanding dual credit, which I know many of you had contacted me, and that is the case. I urge you to consider one or more of these upcoming free dual credit webinars. They last just 30 minutes, and I think they'll be very valuable. So in that case, you can just go ahead and sign up. So I have the link here that you can click to sign up for the different webinar topics around dual credit. All right, so it does look like our guest speaker has logged in. Before I admit her, it looks like we have about a minute or so. Let me just check the chat to see if there's any, I'm not seeing any questions. So if I missed one, I do apologize. But just a few words about Veronica Dale. Like I said, she is from the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation. She's going to go over just sort of the general mission of OVR and some of the programs that your students, whether they're college level or high school with who had an IEP or have an IEP in high school, 504 documented disability, they can reap the benefits of some of these programs that you can share information out. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to close my sharing. And let's see, I believe that somebody has already let her in, if I'm not mistaken. Veronica, are you there? Oh, yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Hello.
Hello, I'm trying to see why my camera was not
You are
on.
doing great. We're so happy while you're figuring that out. I want to welcome you to our Kentucky College Coach monthly webinar. Hello.
Hey, it's gonna be hard to see you, but I'm here.
Oh, we're so happy that you're here. On the call are many of our coaches across the state, as well as some staff. And so I've asked them to include the name of their school, their host site, so you can sort of see the reach of our program, as well as their sort of position there at the school. So I'm not sure if you're using a PowerPoint today or not. If so, you should have access to share that. Otherwise, feel free to go ahead, and I'm going to mute myself, and we're all ears.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce myself and start talking about transition. First of all, I'm Veronica Dale. I started with voc rehab as a field counselor. It was December of 1997. I was in Lexington, Kentucky, and I was assigned to Henry Clay High School. And then the last couple of years of my career as a field counselor was at Bryan Station High School. In 2021, I decided to make a switch and come to this position. So I know a lot about transition. That's where my passion is. I think what happened when we started pre-eds, I kind of got overwhelmed because not that I'm a control freak, it's just that I didn't know a lot of the students I was providing services for. So I like to know my students. I want to let you all know that I actually went to the website and have read that some of you have already worked with vocational rehabilitation, and it seems like they have had some successful outcomes. So are you all familiar with pre-eds? Let's see how many know about pre-eds. Pre-employment transition services. Nobody. Okay. Well, we'll leave it at that. We'll go ahead and talk about transition. Transition is the part of vocational rehabilitation where the focus is on students in high school or students between the ages of 14 to 21. Transition consists of working with the counselor and planning for post-secondary activities during high school and after high school. You have some students that decide, hey, they want to go to work. So the focus is doing assessments in high school. Then if they need supported employment, working with community rehabilitation programs, because they might need a job coach and get involved with supported employment. I was very fortunate enough at Henry Clay, I had a lot of post-secondary students that were going on to college. And that involved, sometimes I was the one that actually helped them get the paperwork ready, would meet with them to do the career counseling, talking about, what are good careers, and also advocacy, to advocate for their accommodations that they were going to need in college to be successful. That is a very weak point of students who have IEPs or 504. They are not comfortable asking for what they need to be successful. And sometimes that is the student's downfall. They're not successful and have to exit college. So that is a big thing I push with students, being sure to ask what they need to be successful, because I tell them they're paying for that college education. They do want to be successful. Another group of students that I worked with were students on alternate diplomas. The students that were going to stay in high school and exit out at age of 21. Those students were usually my students that were going to work with supported employment. Some of them had the Michelle P. waiver. They were very complex cases, had extensive services. And usually those students would do what I call futures planning, because what would happen is you have to think about, maybe that student is only going to work 20 hours a week, but what is the rest of the time going to look like for that student, especially if they have parents that work outside the home? Are they going to be in day programs? What kind of activities are they going to do when they're not working? Transportations, those are very complex cases. Also in vocational rehabilitation, let's talk about the college students again. I forgot to tell you, we do offer tuition assistance. It's $1,000 a semester. We offer books, and books is not an income-based thing. We give $500 a semester towards your books. We have rehab engineers that look at technology that can help a student be successful academically at the collegiate level. One of the instruments that I bought all the time was a smart pen. The smart pen that could record as you write. It was recording the lecture. Let's say your hands get fatigued and you want to lay the pen down, it can still record for you. You have to go through extensive training to learn how to use that type of equipment. But we have rehab techs all across the state that would work with students to get them ready for college. Laptops, on occasions, I would buy laptops. They maybe have to have special software uploaded on it for the student to help them at the college level. To me, the most important piece we did, and the parents felt the same thing, was the technology. A lot of the students do not know about the technology that's available. And one of the key pieces they own is the cell phone. Cell phones have a lot of different bells and whistles that a student can utilize. Does someone have a question? How do you get involved with folk rehab?
It looks like Bob from Gallatin County is asking, how does the student access the $1,000 per semester laptop and book money?
The student has to be a participant of vocational rehabilitation. Someone has referred that student to a voc rehab counselor. They've gone through all the assessments. They've been determined eligible, and an individual employment plan has been written for them. And then on that plan of services, we list the technology. That's how they can access those type of services. They have to be an active participant of VR. If you all are in the school system, let's say you're working with a student and you know the student has an IEP or a 504 plan, that is a student that could be referred to the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation to see if they meet the eligibility requirements for our services. And I'm sure you all know students who probably have IEPs and 504s that you're working with. So this is just another resource for that student. I know you all help them with the FAFSA. That's great. Help them look for different types of maybe scholarships, need-based, or just other type of monies, plus on top of what voc rehab has made available to the student. I'm trying to think of what else to talk about with transition. Do you all have any questions about transition?
I do.
Mhm.
I'm gonna try not to bombard you with questions.
That's fine.
We have a program called Three Corners down here,
Yep,
and they
know
work
it.
with the Priets. I didn't know it was called that. So we are very blessed to have that program. And I know it's limited. There's only a couple of counties that use that. So is there a list of people we can contact for our high school students? Because I know the colleges have the OVR, but I wasn't really familiar with how they would get there without, having a program like Three Corners.
Okay, you know what? You don't have to have a Three Corners, but if you have a student, you can go online. Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation has a website. You can put in your zip code and it'll tell you what office serves your area. Now, you don't have to have Three Corners of what we call a community rehabilitation program. They work very closely with Alice McLeod, who is our pre-eds coordinator in that area, because they provide pre-eds, and I think they're looking at providing supported employment. But yes, you do not have to have any of those. You get students that are in college, and I've had instructors refer them back to me because they knew that individual could benefit from voc rehab services, and they were familiar with it. So a college professor or an instructor can refer a student to our agency.
And Veronica and Carmen, I'm so sorry to interrupt real quick. When possible, before you log off from the call, would you be able to provide that link in the chat to
Yes.
the Kentucky Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, where they would enter their zip code? And it sounds like that would sort of be the first step that you would recommend. So if one of our coaches are, working with a student and, that it's sort of discovered that they have an IEP 504 documented disability, that could be sort of that first step that they could
Yes.
take to kind of get that student connected with your office's services. So yeah,
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind,
Okay.
just so that we're all using the correct link. And sorry, Carmen, I'm going to turn it back to you.
You know what? Yes. And you know what? You are going to meet some students, you probably have, who maybe don't have an IEP or 504 plan, but they do have a documented disability. Maybe it is what I call a hidden disability, is something of mental health, maybe diabetes. What else have I seen? Sickle cell, something like that. It's a chronic condition, but it didn't require them needing any accommodations in high school, but they do have the documentation. That is a student you could refer to voc rehab to. And I always let people know, when it comes to hidden disabilities, the younger you are, I think the problem or your condition is maybe controlled better. As you get older, like with sickle cell and diabetes, those things seem to have cycles. And so if you can get them involved with voc rehab, because I feel like it's very important to get young people with chronic medical conditions educated and into good jobs, because they're going to need the very best health care you can find. I have a granddaughter who has disabilities, and she has many chronic conditions. And our biggest fear is that she will not be able to afford to take care of herself medically because of all the conditions she has. I don't know what type of job she will get that she can afford to take care of her medical needs. And that's a big concern for me as we move into the future with young people. Healthcare, it's a big issue. Is there another question?
Yeah, Carmen, did you have other questions? I sort of jumped in there and interrupted, so I do apologize.
No, not yet. I don't want to get ahead of her.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, Veronica, I absolutely agree. My son has type 1 diabetes, and I got him involved with Voc Rehab a while ago, and that is my big concern too. So, thinking about, and he being younger doesn't realize the importance of that. But talking with, the parents or the families of that, they could be very interested in those services. So the student, him or herself, may not be like all that excited or interested in it, but the parents and guardians of that student might really benefit from knowing about these services, so that they can help with that long-term planning and
Yes.
security.
And the best time to refer a student, we say in our field, we like for the student to be referred their junior year, so that we can get started early, because we have a lot of assessments. Some counselors want to do vocational evaluations to look at careers. Sometimes a psychological has to be done, getting updated information. If they have a lot of medical records, you have to get that information, and sometimes that's time consuming to get that information. So if a student can get referred to a voc rehab counselor their junior year, that is very helpful to make the process not seem so rushed. Because what happens when students get in their 12th grade year, I feel like there's so much going on that they really don't have time enough to get all this stuff done and get it in place by the time they exit high school. So the junior year is a good time to reach out to a voc rehab counselor. I want to know when you all start seeing, what grade are they usually in? Are they freshmen?
So for our high school coaches, yes, they can have
Freshman.
freshman through senior year.
And how about college coaches?
So our college coaches can work with any student that is in the college that comes across their department or sort of their reach in the college. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that, but that will span levels across and at the college.
What gets a student referred to you all at the college level?
I'm going to let one of our college coaches jump in just to make sure that I'm not incorrect on that. But one of the college level coaches, if you could respond to Veronica's question about sort of how do you come across or how do you engage or are introduced to students? And it's probably going to vary depending on your departments and your colleges.
A lot of us are specialized, so we have students come to us with specific questions. So for instance, I work in community engagement. So anybody who's interested in service or service learning, they'll come to my office and they'll talk about that specifically. I know other of us work in diversity and inclusion and study abroad. So I think it largely depends on students coming to us. That's a question I've been trying to address, is how do we find those students before they find us, so we can do some more preventative work. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily meaning that's bad, but getting to them first and letting them know who we are. So a lot of that looks like sending newsletters out to the whole campus, putting a face to our office, social media. But yes.
Okay, the diversity part, that would probably reach some students with disabilities.
Absolutely. I think Bellarmine has 3 college coaches. I think Cam might work in diversity and inclusion, mm-hmm. but them speak for themselves.
Yeah, any of our college level coaches, feel free to put some information in the chat or just to kind of speak up. But yes, just like Nathan said, I mean, we have college level coaches and various departments and programs across the state, whether it's like you said, study abroad or diversity and inclusion, also admissions. Sometimes something is broad, as admissions or advising. So they will definitely interact with students of all different backgrounds and needs.
Do you all ever interact with, when it comes to students trying to get their accommodations, whoever handles that on a campus? Do you all sometimes interact with the staff who handles that?
to my knowledge, we don't currently have a college level coach specifically and a accessibility office or disability services. I could be wrong, and I'm kind of looking at the chat to see if there's anybody correcting me. Marcia Nodine at W West Kentucky Online. I work in the online learning office at West Kentucky. I rarely work directly with a student. I do technical troubles for both students and faculty. So
I think, Karen, I work with the college level coaches a lot. And I think that we don't have anybody directly in disability services on any of our campuses as of now. I think it's a great place to look for opportunities. Lenora works with tutoring, Jericho works in advising, Nathan does community service. I see Tabitha on here, she's doing some work with recovery. And addiction. And I'm not sure if we have anybody else on here. Cam is the one in the diversity office for Bellarmine. And he, I don't think is on here. Lacey is in study abroad. So the colleges get to choose where those coaches are on their campuses. But all that being said is that I think Nathan makes a good point that those students will be coming to them. And so I think it's an important aspect to think about as they're working with students, either as they're coming, the students are coming to them directly, or that they're doing outreach, that services for those with disabilities might be a good connection. I'm thinking specifically with advising, tutoring, and study abroad, especially. My experience with study abroad in the past is that there wasn't a lot of support for those with disabilities and study abroad opportunities. And so there might be some of those things where students don't think they have access or would be able to do it because of their disability. And that might be something I challenge the college level coaches to think about is, in your area, are there barriers to access what you're doing? And if so, what are those, and how might you work with other people on campus or the Office of Vocational Rehab to be able to help support those students better in your areas?
Yeah.
So sorry, I said a lot. I'm going to stop talking now.
No, that's fine. That's great. Tabitha, I saw that you had put in there that you have worked with vocational rehabilitation.
Yes, and I continue to work with vocational rehabilitation in my practice, actually.
Oh, okay. And what area are you in Kentucky?
I connect clients at my agency to Carter County because they are residents here. But previously, when I worked at the community college, I worked in disability services. Actually, I worked in different areas of the community college, so I ran across a diversity group of students, you know.
Okay.
But a lot of them didn't know what was available to them until you actually talk to them and tell them. So
Okay. And so somehow they missed out on that in high school.
yes.
Okay. Someone also mentioned substance abuse and recovery. You know, of course, individuals who have issues with substance abuse recovery or then recovery, they should try to get involved with voc rehab too. That is a population that we do service. That's not my area of expertise. Mine is definitely students in transition, but it is a population of individuals we do provide services to. So even if you come across adults on the campus and you might find out that they might have something and can benefit from voc rehab, definitely refer them to voc rehab. Is there anything else? I'm going to have someone to send me that link.
Veronica, can you, and I know you touched on it, but I was wondering if you could just briefly explain sort of how voc rehab is organized in the state. So that link is going to be very helpful just to take a lot of the, you know, the guesswork out of like, who do I contact and all that. So that link is going to be very helpful. But can you talk a little bit about like so let's say one of our coaches, whether it's high school or college level, you know, they go to that website, they enter their zip code. You know, what can they expect next to happen, and how is sort of the OVR organized?
Okay. If you go to that website, it will tell you the district or the area of Kentucky that will serve you. What will happen is you make contact with that number and they have someone who's going to answer. We call it a referral. They'll take a referral from you and it gets assigned to a counselor. Now, and I'm not going to say all parts of the state work the same. We have really large caseloads. They are trying to work to get those down. But what would happen is you would get a letter from a counselor, or maybe even now they're going to Sarah, where you get a text. The student may get a text from a counselor saying contact them to schedule a time to meet. But you all, if you're working with that student, have the student get all their information together. That saves so much time. If they have documentation, they can go ahead and collect it. If they have it from medical doctors, any documentation from high school, when they walk in and see the counselor, if they have that documentation, it makes the process go faster. The day the student walks in to see a counselor, they have 60 days to determine that student eligible. But if the student has everything, they can go much faster. If a student was coming to see me and they had all the documentation and I still needed something, I usually paid for that. I would say, I need a vocational evaluation. I want to see where their strengths, weaknesses, so I can coach them what's going to be a good field for them, or maybe a good career path. I tell students all the time, you can make a choice to do what you want. I'm just giving you some options here. Another thing I sometimes request, psychologicals. All that, it has to be done within a 60-day time frame. And after that 60-day, you'll get a letter, the student will get a letter saying, hey, you're eligible for these services. You need to come in, we need to write a plan. Okay, what services are we going to provide you to help you accomplish the vocational goal? And how long is it gonna take? I had cases that were open for 11 years because it took so long to get to that vocational goal. And because we were dealing with individuals who had mental health, autism, and things would not go smoothly. You might have to take a semester off. You might have to be hospitalized and come back and try to finish it. So when you work with students, those cases, to me, once you get into voc rehab, get them set up. After they get in that plan status, we're trying to get to that vocational goal. It does not go fast. Usually it takes a college student 5 years to get a 4-year degree. And I build that into their plan of services because I had worked with enough students and I just knew it was going to take 5 years because some students have to take a semester off for mental health, physical, something, life happens. That's what gets in the way. Just life happens and you have to build that into the time frame for students. Then once they get their degrees, we got to help them find a job. And we want them on the job at least for 90 days before we can close the case. They might make 30 days and quit or get fired. We start all over. So those cases go a long time because the end result is to have the student get employment. And I tell students, the first job you get is not your forever job, it's a start so that you can build some skills and move on or move up in that company. I just have to get students to understand that the first job is not the forever job, because some students think that, and I tell them, no, it's just to get started. So that's kind of how the process works. Some counselors are very quick at it, and some have really large caseloads, so it may take them up to the last day to get stuff done.
And Veronica, so for our college level coaches, they're likely working with students that are 18 or older, and they can give consent themselves to kind of move forward with this process. So let's say a college level coach, they're talking with a student, they go to that website, you know, they can, with that age of student, they're able to kind of get things rolling, you know, and that way. Our high school level coaches are typically working with students that are below the age of 18, so they cannot give self-consent. And so can you just discuss what might be a good plan for them if they come across a student that they feel like could benefit from services? Would you recommend them going to like the school counselor next and then let the school counselor sort of handle contacting parents or this or that? Or do you feel like it might be best just to kind of send home some information about OVR and their services, because the student won't be able to give self-consent?
If it's the student in high school and they have an IEP or 504, first thing I want you to ask them, have you ever heard of Kentucky's Office of Vocational Rehabilitation? Has anyone ever attended any of your meetings? Because there might be a counselor involved. You all just don't know it, because students do not communicate everything that's going on with them. So the first thing I tell people, when you come across a student, ask them, have they heard of vocational rehabilitation? Has someone been at one of their meetings? Are they already working with someone? Do they have a counselor? Get that information first. Yes, Cheryl?
Thank you, Veronica. I was thinking that in my case, I would probably go to the director of special education in my school, because I know they kind of know all the umbrella programs underneath for those students. And I've heard them talk about what you've been talking about on here, particularly for the students who maybe are the alternate diploma students and all the 504 and IEP. So my director of special education, in my school, we have one. They're the one I'd refer to first. Does that sound correct?
Yes, it can be. If you have a relationship with that individual, yes. At Henry Clay, I had a relationship with their special ed director and the academic compliance coach. So I could go to either of them. But the problem, what was the good thing about Henry Clay? I was actually in the room where they did the meetings, where the records stay. So I knew every student coming and going. And I think they thought I was an educator there. So it was really easy to get with the students. Yes, but that's the best way to go.
Thank you.
And you know what? I don't know as professionals why we don't talk to each other more. You all are actually in the academic setting. Some of you are in high schools. Do you all ever talk to the academic compliance coach, the special ed directors in the schools? Do you all ever talk to them?
Yes, all the time.
Okay, that's good. Because you know what? They have students that could benefit from your services. I don't know if they know that or not. Do they know what you all do or services you provide?
Yes, and I have a few students who do have the 504 and the IEPs, and it kind of varies, different things that we do. Like I might begin, Veronica, with just tutoring on a particular subject, or some of my students maybe have taken, who want to go to the military, maybe they've taken the ASVAB and they haven't gotten a good score. So they want to do practice tests, and that March to Success site is a great one. All kinds of practice tests that are on there are wonderful. And then I have another young man who does have autism, and we work on practicing different kind of tests that might be on the ACT, because just, there's a lot of variation in there, as you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have a few of those students that I work with. And so I'll see the special education people as well.
Okay, so they really utilize you in the school. Well, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it could be more, but again, Veronica, there's also in my area, of course, a lot of programs that have people coming from different agencies who are providing career, employment, those kinds of services as well. So there's really lots of resources for those students here in my particular house, in my school.
Okay, you're at Dayton High School. What county is
Yes,
that?
at Dayton, Kentucky, right there along the Ohio River, across from Cincinnati.
What county is that? Kenton?
Campbell.
Okay, yes, Campbell, Kenton, that part of Kentucky. There are a lot of service providers. I know there's The Point. You have a program called Peers. The Point provides a lot of services. Yeah,
they're great.
you're in an area of Kentucky that seems to have a lot of service providers and a lot of different things going on. Yes.
Yeah, Ma'am, yes, ma'am. It's good for the kids.
Yeah, it is. It is a good area. Is there
Thank you.
anything else?
Cheryl, thank you so much for that and sharing that. I learned a lot just from you sharing sort of what your experience is like and how you connect with other professionals in your building. And I love kind of what Veronica said, it's important, because our program, although we do provide whole school services around college and career readiness for high school coaches. And I know college level coaches, you're part of that bigger mission of just overall student success and support and retention in your various programs and departments. And so we are going to come in contact, and we are going to be in a position where we can assist and support students of different abilities. So, if you're in a college, connect, if you haven't already, with your disability service or accessibility departments. And like Cheryl said, if you haven't already, introduce yourself to your high school disability services or your special education department, so they kind of know what you do. Our core student eligibility includes pulling in those underrepresented students. And I know special education teachers and programs are so overworked and overwhelmed. And so if they know that you're there and you can, assist and support them in any way, shape, or form, the student just wins. I mean, the student has better opportunity for success. So so that's just a great point, Cheryl. So thank you so much on that.
Yes. Does anyone have anything?
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Does anyone have any other questions about any of our programs?
So I'm not seeing anything come through. If you do have questions, or questions kind of pop up later as you review this slideshow that I'll share out to all the coaches, feel free to email me. I mean, I'm not an expert by any way, shape, or form, but if there is a question that I don't know how to answer, I can reach out to Veronica or one of the local counselors and see if I can get those answers for you. But
and what I'm going to do is, I have a PowerPoint that we have put together for SET training, and what it is, our transition branch. I'm explaining to you how we're set up. I'm the program manager of transition. So we have what we call Community Work Transition Program, CWTP. Some of you have heard of that. And then the next thing we have is pre-eds. We have an administrator for that. We have someone who's an administrator for individuals with sensory disabilities, students that are deaf, hard of hearing, or both. And we have those three ladies under me, and then we have an assistant. And then across the state, right now, we have 5 pre-ed coordinators. We have the state divided up into 5 regions, and each region has what we call a pre-ed coordinator. And we're getting ready to hire one more to be what we call one who will float around and do different things on in different parts of the state. So that's how we're set up. And everybody has their area of expertise. Dorothy does pre-ed, the pre-employment transition training. That's Karen is very familiar with that program. And we have Beth, who does community work transition program. And you all are probably at schools that have that program, you just don't know it. Community Work Transitions Program is actually an agreement between Voc Rehab, the school, and Kentucky's Department of Education. And what happens is the student in the 9th and 10th grade will get pre-employment transition services. Their junior year, they get referred to a Voc Rehab counselor, and we start working to get that student into a job. So when they exit high school, they are employed. That program is geared towards individuals who are not looking at training. They just want employment. And we see quite a few kids on alternate diplomas who participate in. And then we get other kids who want to participate in that program too. And then when it comes to sensory disabilities, we have students, of course, who are deaf, blind, and both. And so we have a Kentucky School for the Deaf, Kentucky School for the Blind, and we have a lady here who make sure those students have to get services. They get pre-S, they have to get transition. If they're going on to post-secondary, things have to be put in place. And you all, I bet a lot of you didn't know that an individual who is legally blind, you know, they can drive. There's a bioptic driving program where you take this test to see how much vision you have left, and you wear these bioptic lens, and they can learn how to drive. We have that in Louisville and in Eastern Kentucky. The state is divided into two different parts. So individuals who are legally blind, but can pass this test and wear these certain lenses can drive. That's really a popular program. It's probably a wait list of a year out for that, because you have to learn how to drive in all kind of weather and night. So that's a very popular program. And Voc Rehab does offer driver's trainings for students, also high school students. But the criteria I use to send students into those type of programs, because those individuals are occupational therapists and it's not a cheap undertaking, is individuals with ADHD who I have a feeling who can't focus, they can't hold their attention. I'm always afraid of them getting easily distracted when driving. And individuals with autism seem to be a good candidate for that program also. So, you know, we offer a lot of different things, and sometimes we get really creative. That was the part I liked about working with students, because I got to get creative on what services I could provide. I was always of the mindset it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. And my favorite thing is whenever someone would tell me, this is the way we're going to do it, in my brain, I was thinking, is there a way around that? And I still do it today. When they tell me we have to do something a certain way, and I'm honest with them, I said, I'm sitting here thinking there has to be a way around that. They hate it when I say that, but that's what I think about. You know, there has to be a quicker way because all the red tape and paperwork we have.
And I'm curious if the high school or college level coaches on the call, you know, if you ever had those discussions with students that you're working with, whether they have, you know, an IEP or 504, but about the driving piece. My experience was when I was working directly with students, that there's sort of this trend that a lot of students, you know, young people aren't really wanting to get their driver's license. I don't know, that was just my experience. I've heard and read things that is the case these days, but that driving piece is important. You know, we can set them up for, you know, that career piece and, you know, the college preparation and all that, but, you know, they have to be able, transportation is the key. So, so that is, I just was curious if any coach ever has those conversations with students about sort of their driving plans and on transportation, but.
Yeah, and transportation is really a piece you have to think about. You know, if you're from an urban area, that's easier to tackle because there's probably Uber, Lyft, and you have public transportation. The big key is when you get into rural communities when you don't have that. And where my granddaughter lives, there is no Uber, Lyft. There's no public transportation. I mean, she's going to have to depend on family to drive her. And right now we're trying to get her set up to do driving. And she has such bad anxiety. I don't know if she's ever going to learn how to drive. So those are some of the issues you have to tackle. Carmen, is that Carmen?
Yes, it's Carmen. This would have benefited me greatly a few years ago. When my son was getting his driver's license, he couldn't pass the vision test, even though he had just went to the doctor like the week before and got new glasses. So I'm glad I found out about that because I had no idea about this. And we are in a rural area as well. He's about to be 28. So I'm sure there's been some advances in the program since then. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was part of it. So I'm very glad that you did bring that up.
Yeah, there is individuals who have I mean, they're legally blind, but there's a way to get these lenses. And I have seen, I had an intern student who was legally blind, but she could drive. She was a mother of 3, but she wore this optic thing, and she lived her life to the fullest, taking care of her kids and in school. So it can be done. Yeah. Is there anything else? Do you all ever work with any students who are deaf? Nobody? Tony, have you? I thought, yes.
Yes, as an outreach counselor, I worked with the Kentucky School for the Deaf a lot.
Oh, okay.
So I would go in and help them with their FAFSAs, and we would schedule translators and things like that. But I know that the school would also be already connected with all the voc rehab. And
yeah, they are. They have
all the
Amanda.
resources.
Yeah,
Yes.
they have Amanda Friend, and we're looking at trying to get some pre-ed services to the students.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
I do have a student that is, she's not totally deaf. She is hearing impaired.
Mm.
And I think she might have a 504. So
She could
That's-
she could connect with voc rehab. We have counselors who we call CS, communication specialists. I was one because I had a high school where there were students who were hard of hearing, but they were still oral. They didn't sign, but I worked with them because I was a communication specialist and knew about hearing aids. My own son wears hearing aids, and that was brought on because he was in the military, Afghanistan and Iraq. And when he came back into the country, they noticed he has a hearing loss. So he wears hearing aids. And hearing aids, the technology in those are so phenomenal. And voc rehab does buy hearing aids, and we buy some top shelf hearing aids too. They're not cheapies. They're really good ones. You can pair up with your cell phone. My son has music that comes through his hearing aids. He communicates, just push a little button, it's all there.
Victoria, I'm a whatever AmeriCorps volunteer at West Kentucky, and I work in online learning, but I teach online music appreciation class. And I had a student that was helped by, I don't know which office, but anyhow, he was deaf, and they fitted him with some kind of headphones that allowed him to hear the music that was required, listening part of the online class. Totally freaked me out, but his descriptions, his discussion posts of after he listened to the music, he definitely had heard it. So that was really cool. And you guys, I mean, without that, there's no way he could have taken a music class.
Yes. That's good. Yeah, we do a lot of good stuff. I think sometimes I tell people we're the best kept secret.
Absolutely. Wow, it's so nice. Marcia, I've never met you or had an exchange with you. So thank you so much for speaking up and sharing that experience, because I think we all learn from hearing what our individual experiences are like. Veronica, some coaches are asking for your direct email. I don't know if that is how you feel about that, if that is okay.
I love emails.
Okay. So thank you so much for that. And I'm also wanting to kind of follow up on my question about that web link that you were.
Yes, and you know what? I'm gonna have Chris send that.
Okay.
And I'll send it to you.
Perfect.
And you can get it out. And I want to send everybody this PowerPoint that we do for new employee training. So that way they can learn a little bit more about the different branches and how we have the state divided up.
Oh, Veronica, that would be amazing, because that was going to be my next question. And will that sort of map or that overview of how it's structured, is that going to include like the regional counselors contact, or is it just kind of general? Or
it's just general. I want to include that, so I'll still have to send you the link for that.
Okay. All right. That's great. Yeah. So any other last minute questions or comments? Great questions and great sharing, everybody. Thank you.
And I'm gonna put a plug in here for voc rehab. You know what? If you need hearing aids and you still work, I had a gentleman who was 88 years old, still working, needed hearing aids and wanted to work full time. You know, I think people forget we help anyone from age
Right.
14 to 100, as long as you still want to work. The goal is work. He was 88. He just needed hearing aids. He wasn't hearing well. So we got him some hearing aids. He wanted to work full time. I asked him why he wanted to work full time. He'd been married to his wife for 65 years. He could not stay home with her. He had to have a full-time job. I told him, I don't think we could get him full-time, but we did find him a part-time job and he loved it. So if you have family members who are hard of hearing or need hearing aids, but they must be employed or want to go to work, we do offer hearing aids for that group of individuals too.
That's awesome. And that is real life. I can see my parents thinking the same thing about. Yeah. That's awesome. Any last minute questions or comments before we let Veronica go? Or but
I do have one.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this would qualify or not, but what if you had somebody that wanted to work, but their teeth were messed up or they didn't have teeth? Do you all help with anything like that? Because that would definitely affect employment.
Oh, yeah. And guess what? I have done it. I actually, oh, you won't want to hear a funny story. Well, this lady needed teeth. So we had to get rid of the other teeth. I said, okay. I found a dentist. He pulled all her teeth. We were waiting for her mouth to heal to get the dentures. But her mouth wasn't healing correctly. So I really got upset. So I said, well, I'm going to the dentist with you. So I was so upset at the dentist. I said, here, let me have a white coat, a mask, and some gloves. I want you to show me what you're seeing in her mouth. So he let me go back there and look in her mouth so I could see how come it wasn't healing correctly and she had to come back all those times. Finally, we got her mouth to heal. We got her dentures and she got a job where she was at a front desk greeting people. And that's what she, yeah, but I thought I was a dentist. I was just so upset, but he was willing to let me gear up and go in and look in her mouth and she was totally fine with it. I just couldn't believe it wasn't healing and I wanted to see what was going on. He let me do it. So quite interesting story. Yeah.
Oh my God, that does not surprise me that you would do that. That's awesome.
Not at all. And that's really great because people, I think that's the thing with Voc Rehab that I found, that you all will work so individually with whatever is preventing them from getting out to work. And that's why I think this session was so important for our coaches to realize that it is an individual approach to whatever that person needs to help them get over the hurdles so they can get into employment. That's awesome.
It's definitely, it's all individualized. Yeah.
Veronica.
Yes.
You just taught this old guy some new tricks. So I really appreciate what you did today. This is a world that I really have not been in, really. And so I just wrote everything down and I really appreciate your time today.
Well, no problem. Reach out to me anytime. If I love to brainstorm and think of different ways of doing things.
Bob, the fact that you said that you learned something new today that is just a big deal to me. So you are so knowledgeable, and so for you to learn something new, that just makes me smile. And so coaches, whether you're at the college level and the high school, you can be that pivotal person that can connect, because like we said, we know high school counselors are so busy, and some people might assume that they already know, or maybe somebody is new in the school and they don't know. So you just knowing this can be of just a new world for your students and families so that they can be successful in life. And so we just, we hope that you take this information forward and are able to help students. So thank you, Carmen.
Yes.
Yeah. And Mindy has placed in the chat, if you're not familiar with what an IEP is, an individual education plan, or a 504 for medical, there is a link there that you can read a little bit more about. Now, my experience has been at the college level. disability services or accessibility services can create accommodation plan based off a student who had an IEP or 504 in high school. So it may not look exactly the same as it did in high school, but they will sort of conference with the student to see what might need to come forward to help them succeed in college. And some students that are college level do not know that there are disability services or accessibility services in college level. They just think, I can't go to college because I have an IEP and I'm not going to, succeed. But so getting in touch with those disability services programs and departments in the colleges can really be vital as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of different for each school, because some will say, okay, we will pull some of the information from your last big meeting in high school, and others say, okay, we want up-to-date information. So sometimes that's why I got into paying for psychologicals. And sometimes some students have health insurance, and when I tell parents, I would tell parents this, somebody in insurance told me this, to coach parents to say, we need this evaluation for looking at medication management. Never say it's for academic purposes. Always say it's for something else. If it's for academic, insurance companies don't want to pay for it. But if they think you're looking at medication management, then the insurance company is more likely to cover it. And that's something I learned. Some lady who worked in insurance told me how to coach parents to get that paid for. And I know EKU has a psychology department, and they do psychologicals, and they have a sliding scale. So you can really get a good one there. I saw a lot of the private schools were going there. When I would look at, they're very comprehensive, and one could cost anywhere from $300 or less.
Very good to know. All right, any other questions or feedback? Like I said, if you think of something, just email me, and then I can try to get those answers out to you. And then Veronica will email me a little bit later today with that link, as well as that slideshow or that PowerPoint PDF that I will also share out with our own slideshow PDF. So lots of good things coming your way, coaches, later today. So Veronica, thank you so much. A lot of thank yous are coming through the chat as well. And this has just been a great information session for all of us. So thank you so much for your time and expertise.
Okay, thank you all. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. And I love the input and the questions. And, I think we all learned at least one thing today, if not many, many more things. So that was awesome. And I will get that information out to you all later today. So we don't have a lot of time left. So let me just quickly jump back on our sort of a slideshow. So fortunately, I got ahead of myself before. So just because this is going to probably take a few minutes, I mean, it is a quick survey. While I'm talking, feel free to, let me go ahead and put this in that way. I want you to hear what I'm saying on the other things, but if you can, at some point today, at least get this link opened up. Well, there we go. Hang on. Sorry about that. If you could at least get the link opened up for you to do the survey at some point today, that would be great. This time I actually did send it to everybody. So I'm getting better at that. So let me go back here. So basically what it is we are wanting to know who might be interested in having a sort of a bumper sticker size magnet to put on your car that promotes the program, that identifies the program. So like if you were, on a out at a conference, or just sitting even in your school's parking lot, just to get everyone who sees it familiar with Kentucky College Coach, a AmeriCorps program. And so we're just trying to see who might be interested in having a magnet bumper sticker to show off our program. So just let us know, and we'll look at those results later. Serve Kentucky is our state AmeriCorps Commission. And so some of you that attended like the launch event back in October, that was sponsored by Serve Kentucky. They are asking members from all the different programs that operate in the state to participate in these roundtables over the next couple of weeks. And so here are the dates, the upcoming dates. We would love to have at least one member attend each of these sessions, or select one and choose the one that is closest to you. So the next one coming up is quickly approaching, and that is Monday, February 6th, and it's from 5 to 6:30 in the evening in the Louisville area. And it gives you some instructions here on like where to park and all that. The next one is Tuesday, February 7th, and that's in the Big Sandy area. And then again on Monday, February 13th, in Hinman, Kentucky. So if you live, in that particular city or in a sort of an adjacent area, our county, and you would like to maybe increase some of your training hours or overall service time and are available to attend, please let your program manager know that you are able to attend, so that we have an idea of who's going to what event. And then you will need to submit a mileage sheet, and we can help you with that if you aren't familiar with that just yet, but just let us know, and then that way we can follow up with you later to find out what that experience was like. But this is just for members only, so none of the staff will be attending, and they really want to find out from our members as well as from other AmeriCorps program members about your experience in your position. So it should be a good time, a valuable time for definitely them to get your perspectives, but also for you to hear about others' experience across the state.
And Karen,
yes.
we, with that, were they limiting how many people could come?
Now, please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, at this time, I think we want to just ask the members to let the program manager know, and then we can sort of like come together, maybe through email, and just discuss who can go where. And then if we have a lot of representation at one particular area, we might limit that. But it's my understanding that they want us to send at least one, but more than one is possible. Okay, thank you so much. And then this isn't last, but towards the end, big announcement about FAFSA February. You may have already received some information from Kia or from Tony, and Tony, thank you for sharing that information out the other day. So this is a campaign, a social media campaign, primarily around getting students and families to complete the FAFSA. And so Tony provided a toolkit to help with sort of generating that, creating some social media posts around this FAFSA February event. And so they're asking things like, you can use some of the graphics that were sent out in the toolkit, and then even some sample posts that you can use, so you don't have to sit there and build it from the ground up. But I've already submitted some things to our social media person with some images. So if you even just follow the compact on social media, look for those to come through. You can repost those. But we want to try to get, some excitement, enthusiasm, and awareness around filling out the FAFSA for the 23-24 school year. So the link, you may not be able to see it on my screen, but it is down below. So if you click that will open the toolkit up for you to read all of, a little bit more about what FAFSA February is, and specifically some things that you can do in your schools to get the word out and to generate some excitement and motivation around filling out the FAFSA. Tony, did you want to add anything else about that, or?
I do.
Okay.
So with the social media posts, that would be like with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you don't personally have one of those accounts, your school may. And so you may want to talk to the front office or whoever's handling your all's school blurbs, and they are more than welcome to share these. And remember also that you can go to the Kentucky kygoestocollege.com and pull up the FAFSA completion campaign. And you can look at your school to see what your percentages are this year based on the percentages that had completed the FAFSA the year before. So we're really trying to boost those numbers up and try to tie it in February so that we don't have that many in May saying, oh, I want to go to college and I need to do this. So it's a big push to try to cross the T's and dot the I's.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, please encourage your schools to promote this campaign on their social media, on their, on the website, to communications out to parents. But yeah, I mean, you could do, like I said, as little as watch for those social media posts to come through. If you follow the compact on social media, you can repost those with a little bit extra encouragement or connection with your role in the school to build that that visibility. That would be great. Or you can sort of create your own. And it looks like Cheryl has a question. Let's see here.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes.
Along with this campaign, I started thinking about the fact that there are some schools that do require FAFSA completion as a mandate for their seniors. Is there any talk about that as like becoming larger in Kentucky schools?
I do not personally know that. I don't know if Tony, if you're able to comment on that. I do know that they, just based on my own students, my own kids' experience, I have two different schools in the same district, and one really pushes it and the other one, it's interesting how varied it is, like you said. But anyone else want to comment, Tony, or any coach, about what your experience is, how much emphasis or push your all schools do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine does not.
Okay.
That's Gallatin County High School does not. And I think statewide, it's kind of tough to get that approved. I think it's got to go through the political channels.
Yeah.
But as I recall, Tennessee, the state of Tennessee requires that of every, at least public high school graduate, that they file the FAFSA. So, but I think it's maybe a political issue to get that required.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting point. It looks like Lynn at Fleming County High School said some schools do, hers specifically does not. So so it is kind of, it differs, and you're right, Bob, some of it is political. Will it one day get added to KDE's college and career readiness standards, that the student at least has the experience of doing the FAFSA? I don't know. I guess that could come down the pike, but yeah, it's probably very regional and very political. So, okay. So again, when you receive the PDF version of the slideshow, there is the link there for that FAFSA February toolkit. Check it out. Don't be overwhelmed by it. There are lots of suggestions there on how you can participate. You should have received an email maybe a week, 2 weeks ago from, I think it was from Mindy, about your W-2s. Now, everybody should have received, if you served in 2022, you should have received your paper version of W-2s from NKU. If you haven't, and you're not sure really how to access those or whatever, please reach out to me or your program manager, and they can sort of channel your information to me and your concern, and I'll see what I can find out for you. But most of you, I had a lot of questions at one point, but I think all of those paper versions have been sent out. So just let me know if you need help with that. Also in this slideshow that I'll be sending out is a link to the Google Drive that has Cheryl Brumley's presentation that she delivered at Berea, that Mind Over Matter. A lot of coaches that attended that were excited about the possibility of getting a copy of that, for personal use, professional use, or, use with your students, whatever. So that slideshow has been uploaded to the Google Drive, and here is a link to access that. So hopefully you can make use of that. If you didn't attend Berea, check it out, because I've heard lots of really great feedback from that. The next couple of slides, I'm going to just go through really quick because we are already over on time, but I just wanted to kind of, share out, to those that did attend, those that didn't attend, to see what you, unfortunately missed, including myself, about some things that went on at Berea. So I'm just going to kind of click through these. I want to point out that there is a link here. Thank you, Mindy, for adding the Berea Cohort 13 training photos folder to the Coaches Drive. So you can click here to see more pictures, but I just wanted to brighten everybody's day and showcase the events at Berea. So it looks like everybody had a great time that attended. And I do hope that you check out the folder in its entirety. So, another piece of information that is important is saving the date. So the end of year in-person training that will be held April 18th through the 20th. So this is in person. The location is to be determined. We are narrowing it down, but keep those dates on your calendar available for you to attend, and more information will be sent in the near future about reserving your spot. So to close, I thought we'd do a little quick game. With the help of Mindy and Tony, we were able to generate this. Now, ambassadors, I'm going to ask you not to respond and not to take the fun away from you. But I know you were on our call yesterday, so you already know the answer to this. But just to really reflect on the impact that our program has across the state, specifically for high schools for this question, but I know our college level coaches are making a huge impact in their settings as well. But focusing on the high school coaches at this time, I want you to take a guess, sort of like how many gumballs are in the gumball machine. But since August 1st of 2022, up through yesterday, how many core students do you think have our high school coaches actively served? So just kind of reflect on that. Since August 1st, how many core students do you think our high school college coaches have actively served? And so this would be sort of unique, and so if you've already made a guess and you want to revise that's fine. But so this would be the number of core students that that we're actively serving. So not the number of times that we've served that or worked with the same students. So so how many core students have our high school college coaches actively served between the dates of August 1st, 2022 and January 31st, 2023? So I see a lot of interesting guesses coming through, best guesses. And I'll give everybody just about 5 more seconds to make that guess, and we'll see who is close. All right. So here comes the big reveal. And so to date, 1,495 core students are actively being served, coached, mentored by our high school college coaches since August 1st of 20. Oh, and I made a mistake on the slide. I need to change that. August 1st, 2022. And then the time recorded with those core students, so these would be, repeated coaching and mentoring, comes out to be 147,925 minutes, which converts to 2,465 hours. So looking at some of the guesses, some of you were really, really high, and we will get there. We'll get there. Remember, we're just mid-year. So some of these higher numbers, we might be more like that towards the end of our school year. So maybe we'll do this best guess again then. But 1,495 students are receiving your the knowledge, the services, the information, and the guidance. And we thank you so much for that. Any last minute questions or concerns before we part ways? And again, I apologize for keeping you all over. Okay. All right. Well, thank you again to all that have shared, have asked questions, and just thank you for doing what you do with your students. And look for that email to come from me a little bit later today with the PDF of that slideshow with clickable links, as well as the link that Veronica will share, and also the website from OVR. And then also remember those mid-year reviews. So, all right. Thank you, Cheryl. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, great day, whether you're at home with a weather event closure or you're in your schools. Keep up the great things that you're doing, okay? All right, everybody. Thank you so much.
Great job, Karen.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. You did a great job as well.